All right. You ready, Samantha?
I'm ready.
All right, here we go. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to... What the hell, man? I was getting so lit.
Okay.
You good? You got it out?
And now that I'm like having to think about not
Nah,
laughing.
you're going to laugh.
laughing.
Now you're going to laugh.
Okay. I'm going to dissociate. Go ahead.
All right, yep. All right, hold on. Now I got to lock in. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to my channel and welcome back to another episode of the Carlos Granados podcast. As usual, thank you guys for... Oh, I just yelled a lot, by the way. My bad. That was really loud. As usual, thank you guys. Thank you guys for watching, for subscribing, for liking, also for listening on Apple Podcasts, on Spotify, and Amazon Music. I appreciate all the love. Our views are going up. Our subscribers are going up. And if you have any, any questions, any comments, concerns, always, don't forget to comment on the comment section on the YouTube channel. And also don't forget to turn on the notifications so you can get videos and updates. And also whenever I go live, you'll get updates as well. But today I have another special guest. And without further ado, Samantha, welcome to my podcast. How you doing, my girl?
I'm amazing. How are you doing, Carlos?
I'm doing great. Thank you. Listen, man. First of all, as soon as I saw you, I was amazed at the fact that you look really, really well. And I mean, because you've lost a lot of weight. Like,
oh, thank you.
I am very, very impressed. And to be honest, I kind of want to just start with that. I want to start with your health journey. What made you, lose the weight? How did you do it? What was it like? What was the process like? Did you fail? A couple of times?
Oh,
How
yeah.
was it? So I want to know the whole shenanigan. Talk to me, girl.
Yeah. Well, what's interesting is when I first met you, that was what, 2 years ago, 3 years ago?
I think it's about 2 years and some change ago.
2021. Right?
2021.
2021?
Yes.
Yeah, so we met in 2021. That was actually my heaviest. So my entire life.
Like you were your heaviest weight.
That was it was kind of like in the ballpark. I think I started gaining weight around that time.
Yeah.
And so I hit about 205 pounds. And my entire life I've been kind of a little bit of a skinny mini. And that was so, like, it's hard because I think I put a lot of my identity in, like, wanting to look good. And, like, that was kind of what I built a lot of myself on, which part of the good thing about gaining that much weight is it taught me not to put so much stake into what I was looking like because there was so much pressure.
Yeah, make sure you talking to the mic, because people be complaining that people are away from the mic. So.
Sorry, everybody.
Yeah, no, but you're good. Keep going. Keep going.
But yeah, so I put a lot of stake into the way that I looked, and so when I first gained that amount of weight, I reached about 205 pounds. That was which I never talked about it back then because I was like, oh shoot,
I thought that was your normal when I first met you.
No, not at all.
Wow.
I was really skinny all through college. Like I was running twice a day. Like I was very like that was kind of like my whole thing is I was like I just want to be skinny little mini. Gained all that weight, and the funny thing about it is I actually had to learn to be more gentle with myself. Like I had really bad body dysmorphia when I was really skinny.
Oh.
And so I had to learn to be kind of gentle with myself upon gaining, like 50 pounds.
Where do you think that the body dysmorphia comes from? Like, is that from people, like, you think will judge you? Or is it, your perception that people will look at you? Or maybe you let yourself go so much that you have all these quote-unquote insecurities? Like, where did that come from?
I feel like that's something, and probably a lot of the girls that, like, listen to this, or just girls in general, they would relate to that. There's so much pressure on the way that we look.
Okay.
Like what we constantly are praising in general, like on social media, TikTok, celebrities, Margot Robbie. Everybody saw the new Barbie.
Hey, don't talk about my girl like that because that's wifey.
I love it. No, that is wifey. That is wifey. Who would ever say such a thing? But just like this is what we're looking up to, and these are the people. And part of the reason we look up to them is because they look a certain way.
Right.
So if you talk to any girl, they could have a great body. I remember like some of the girls with the best bodies that I knew in college, they have body dysmorphia. Some of the people that live in the gym have body dysmorphia. I mean, it's just
wow.
We can't.
I wonder if that's the reason they're in a lot because of that. Like they're scared of. So quick question. So where you were at 205 pounds, what was your thought process? Like besides like you were unhappy with yourself? Were you like, what were you thinking then, as to why now you decided to lose? I mean, what did you say, 40 pounds?
I decided to lose that weight before I even gained that weight. I finally figured it out though. But
okay. Oh, so you got your whole routine. So okay, talk to us about that. How were you able to do it? How did you lose 40 pounds so far? You went from what, 205 to what are you now?
Right now I'm 165.
Wow.
So
that's amazing.
Yeah.
How'd you do that?
So that was a whole process. When I first started gaining the weight, it's funny because like I think I just forgot how to eat. I'm like, why? I could not tell you why I was gaining so much weight. I can tell you now. Like I was eating out 3 meals a day. I was like, I was eating cotton candy. Like,
yeah.
It was the food I was eating. Like I'm not gonna be thyroid now.
That's a thing though.
That can't be a thing. But that, like in my case, like I remember it was right after I got my eye surgery, and I would go to Kroger.
I remember that.
Yeah, that was a whole thing. But I go to Kroger and they had like these little cotton candy containers. I buy like 10 of those, and I don't think I had like a concept of calories because I was like, oh, only 280 calories, and I'd eat like 3 of those. And like I was eating a ton of candy, so that was kind of like the uphill swing of that.
Gotcha.
When I started realizing that I was eating more than I was burning, which doesn't seem like that like mind blowing of a concept. Like I'd still run all the time. I was working out all the time, but I was like, I just can't do it. My metabolism is crap right now. I was like, no, like I was eating a lot of sugar. I was drinking. I was, whatever that was. So when I kind of started to focus on what I was eating more so than the exercise, and I was doing personal training, but that was really kind of where it started to work out for me.
I feel like a lot of people say that too. Like if you want to lose weight, look better, or whatever your goal may be, one of the things that a lot of people say that lose weight or that are in the gym a lot, they're like, yeah, your diet's probably the most important part, aside from just working out or going to the gym. Like what you eat, what you put into your system and your body, like that's how you're going to get, results that you want. Yeah. So I feel like that's very true.
Yeah.
So what is your goal now? Do you feel like, do you want to stay at that pace? Do you want to gain more muscle, or what's like, you have a goal now that you reach one goal, or do you want to stay there? Do you feel like that's where you look the best? That's where you at the best?
Yeah, it's interesting because like I was still even thinner when I was in college. So
thinner, dang, girl, for real? Yeah, wow.
I was kind of skinny. I don't know if I want to maybe like get a little bit more to my college weight and then from there focus on muscle building. I think muscle building is honestly what I need to be focused on right now that I've lost the weight, because when you're losing weight in general, you can expect to lose muscle. Like that's just a part of the whole thing with being in a deficit. Yeah. That's probably the next step. Just absolutely getting yoked.
That'll be fire. Yeah. Plus, you're pretty tall, so you look really great. Like you got the supermodel looks as well. Like you got the Victoria's Secret. What are their prerequisites? Like they have like 6. I don't know how tall they gotta be, but they gotta be tall. You know what I mean? Because I heard somewhere. I don't know if this is like TikTok or something, but like short women apparently it's hard for them to to be models or something because it's not like a standard. And I'm like, there's a lot of short beautiful women and a lot of tall beautiful women. Like, come on, man. Y'all playing too much with my feelings. We're playing too much. I'm like, you guys are playing. But I appreciate you sharing that. That's pretty cool. And do you have any advice for people that want to lose weight, or maybe how they do it? Any advice on maybe the mentality that you went through, or maybe the ups and downs that you went through mentally? Because I feel like there's a lot of people watching that want to do what you did, right?
Yeah.
And you were there at one point. So what do you feel like is something that valuable that you feel like people could get from your process and your journey?
Yeah, I think like moving forward, it's going to be easier for me if I do gain weight again to lose it in the future, because I understand now what I was doing wrong. One thing, and I remember because I was hanging out with like Bella and Audrey a lot around that time that I was kind of trying to figure out where I needed to lose weight, and I focused on my weight so much. Right. Like it was something that was very mentally exhausting to me, and so I would talk about it a lot. But in focusing on being that heavy, I feel like it was kind of a cycle where I just, I feel like I was coming to terms with like, oh, I'm, so much heavier than I want to be. And so talking about it definitely didn't help. That's one thing is like to change the narrative. Like you don't have to focus on it so much. The other thing is like there's something that's going to work different for everybody. I, for one, just to kind of get like a handle on my calories, started skipping lunch for a while. continue to do that unless I'm gonna like eat like a big dinner later. Like I didn't eat lunch today because we're getting Korean barbecue after this.
We're gonna turn it up.
Iron Age
gang.
But yeah, like that's there. That kind of comes with like being aware of how much you're consuming. So if you're gonna, you know, like you get kind of a grasp on that. That was a big thing for me. Focusing less on like the exercise. It's still important. You should still exercise, but like focusing less on that, more on what you're eating.
Right.
Is something that worked for me, but it's going to be different for everybody. Just keep on going till you find out what works for you.
Yeah, that's great. That's great. That's actually really good because, by the way, I want to say like, I thought you looked great regardless of how much I thought you always looked great. So, but I'm actually happy that you're happy now and you're happier. That makes me happy.
Yeah.
Oh, that was cute.
I feel like myself again a little bit more.
Yeah. You're vibing.
I wanted to be.
That's a good energy, man. Yeah. Cause when I saw it now that, their energy is definitely up there. I like that. I like it. People's energy matters. You know what I mean? Like, I feel like some people, don't see that, but I personally like value that. So we're going to transition into talking about your career and what you do. I always mention this on my podcast. I'm always interested on the road and that you took to get to your career. You told me you work in telecommunications, correct? So I want to know, what was the process like? What did you go to school for? Maybe some of the hardships that you went through, maybe getting there or even during the company. Because I know you're not with AT&T anymore, right?
No.
Okay. We can talk. You can talk about that. Listen, we're
not trying to get sued.
Oh, wait, facts, right?
But no.
Okay, got you. Well, get into it and just maybe what you do now, and eventually, hopefully, people can be more interested in that career, or they will learn something from it. So, go ahead. The floor is yours.
Oh, thank you. So I went to Purdue, and I went into mass communication, which the focus at Purdue with mass communication is it's media and media-based work. So, it could be anything from like news stations to journalism to like camera work, behind the scenes stuff. It was a pretty broad media-based major.
Gotcha.
So as a lot of people who go into communications or mass communications, I ended up in business. Like there are a lot of people that ended up working for, but I got essentially what a business degree would have achieved without actually having to do a business major, which is great because I didn't have to do any math.
Gotcha.
So
you got there without the math.
Exactly.
The math ain't mathing, bro.
No, I took 2 math classes, did not math in either one of those, which is funny. It's like a STEM school, but I was like liberal arts degree.
What is Purdue? What do they concentrate on? What is their big? What do they take pride on? What's like their big? Do they besides partying?
They're not even no.
Oh,
so well, kind of. They're an engineering school, and it's funny because everybody was so stressed, and I was like, "Ooh, Tuesdays." Quarter bots, Wednesdays, wing Wednesday at Brothers Bar and Grill, like wash that down with a couple of double wells, like I was just every single day I was on, and like
that sounds like a good time.
Oh, it was a great time. But
college is a good experience for everybody. It doesn't matter who you are. I feel like it breaks you out a little bit, like a little bit of your wild side might come out because everybody like, oh, it's college. You have more freedom, man. Well, at least when I went to college, so much more time in your hands. You're not like in high school when you're like from 7 a.m. to 3 p.m. You have more time. Sometimes you have 2 classes a day, sometimes 1. And you're just like, dude, dang. That's also could be bad because it was bad for me because my first semester GPA in like freshman was so bad. It was like a 1 point something. Listen, actually, my first year, not my first semester. First semester I did well. So, but let's not talk about that. This is about you. So go ahead, keep going.
No, yeah, I totally get that though because you're just like getting used to all the freedom and like I definitely didn't have that growing up. My parents, I hope they don't listen to this. They're kind of strict. They were like, until I was 16, they were like, no going to the mall without a parent there to supervise you. Like it was a lot of stuff.
They had you on lockdown like that. Wow.
And they didn't think they were that kind of parent. They were like, oh, some people like their parents are so strict that they go crazy when they go to college. And like that was ended up being me. And it's funny because but so I was kind of just straight chilling when I was in college. Like obviously like I cared about my grades. I did well, but I didn't have the same academic pressure that I would have had if I was in STEM, which I never would have been in STEM. Not a math girly.
Oh.
However, ended up in business. Didn't have to take any of the math classes for that, and so I started with AT&T in Dallas.
Dallas.
Dallas, Texas.
Okay, I thought it was like Dallas, Georgia too, because there's two of them. So I was trying to make sure which one.
Sure, there's more if you really look at it.
Okay.
Yeah. I was
All right.
in the Texas part of the world.
Got you. Wait, so you moved there?
I did, yeah. I was there for 6 months. I tried to stay there.
So did you intern at all anywhere, or you just like you applied for that job and you got it? Like once that you had the degree.
So I applied for a lot of jobs.
Like all of us.
Yeah, like all of us. But I had some really good, cool opportunities. Like Porsche has like a very exclusive marketing team.
Yep.
And I got 4 rounds of interviews with Porsche. Like killed it in the first 3 interviews. Yeah, and they like it's like their headquarters are in Atlanta.
Okay.
So I was gonna go there the 4th time. I think it was just God, because I was like praying. I was like, dear Lord, like help me to get this. Even though me and God, like we were kind of like we were on the terms where I just kind of like came to Him when I needed something.
Yeah,
it was one of those things.
Gotcha.
God was like, ixnay.
Yeah,
it's
no,
not happening,
today.
'cause I show up to that interview. You're the interviewer. He's like, so why marketing? And like I'm just sitting there like, what is marketing?
Wait,
I like
you bombed it?
My brain was blank. I couldn't finish a sentence. Like
You were that nervous.
I was like, I'm sorry, I can't talk right now. Like it was what I'm doing right now. That was how it was in that interview.
Wait, this is the fourth like interview, or
This was the 4th interview. I was talking to
So
the
you went-
head of marketing over all of Porsche in America. So you've got to understand, like little 22-year-old me was absolutely peeing her pants, like because this guy was important.
Right.
You know.
the pressure? You felt the pressure.
Right, and
Yeah.
because it was funny because like he's so important that it's kind of more of just a formality phone call that they do, where like when you make it to the 4th round interviews, rumor is you've made it. However, my parents are like, no, you got to go in there. Like you got to go show face. And as I was sitting in front of this guy, I was so nervous. I bombed it. Apparently, like, and again, it really was just a formality before they offered you the job. But
Oh, you know what though? I've been there. I've bought an interview before, and I know the feeling afterwards. Like, dude, you went through college and you bombed that interview, and I'm just like, this is what I work for. And like when you get the opportunity, like I sold the bag, I was so disappointed. So I get your pain. I get your pain exactly.
it's funny in hindsight though, because like when I'm able to explain the full details of that story, just like how badly I bombed that interview, it's really funny to tell people. And it always like people always bomb an interview, but nobody ever has bombed an interview as hard as I bombed that interview. So I always tell that story to make people feel better. And that's why I got happy there.
Now, that's
you know?
good. Listen, that's good though, because now we can laugh about it.
Right.
We can laugh about. All right, so keep going. So you went to AT&T Dallas.
Right. So I go to AT&T in Dallas. They have us there in like this little, like people called it the communes. So they bought out this extended stay motel.
Okay.
And then wherever, I guess they built a little office next to that. And like the AT&T employees fresh out of college, it was just kind of like college 2.0, would stay in this extended stay motel. So I have my little motel apartment, and it was fun. It was right before COVID started, literally days before COVID started. So everything shut down. All we had was like each other, the people that lived in the building. And so naturally, people got pretty close in that, in that setting. And then 6 months in, they placed me, and like I got to choose where I wanted to go back to. AT&T says, hey, you're not going to be in the office for the next like year and a half. So just, wherever you go, like you're good. So I chose Atlanta thinking that I was going to be able to sign a lease in Dallas. Not just thinking that I was going to be able to sign a lease in Dallas. Like I signed a lease in Dallas, like with one of my homies. And that didn't go.
That's another story.
So, well, no, cause like I signed the lease, and then my boss reaches out and he's like, you have to come back home to Atlanta, which honestly, God, again, we're on a God podcast, right?
A God podcast. Actually, I will call it more. There is faith.
God is the producer, right?
Actually, that's a good one.
I love
producer, Jesus.
Yeah. So my boss is like, you have to come back to Atlanta, which at first I was so upset because we were like locked into a lease. Like I had to tell my friend before I go, like the night before I go, I told him that like we couldn't do it anymore. We were still locked into the lease, but he was like, hey, I have feelings for you, which is the first thing where I'm like,
was that type of friend?
No.
For him, you were that type of friend. For
I
you,
thought we were just platonic homies. Dude, if somebody like shot me in the back of the head with a bullet that says I love you, I would have no idea.
Cap.
I'm absolutely horrible at knowing these things. My gauge for this stuff is absolutely broken. So
we need to take you back to the factory, get it renewed.
No, you gotta understand. Like, I just assume that all of my guy friends are extremely platonic until they tell me otherwise, and then I'm like, oh, all right.
Oh, so they gotta let you know for real, like, yo, I'm into you.
They have to look me in the face and tell me, because I have zero idea. Like, even if they're flirting with me, I think they're joking. So
you gotta give yourself more credit than that now, girl.
No, but that is
you gotta love yourself a little bit more.
No, this is just like me. I'm like, oh, like I guess I'm just a guy's girl, you know, like until like, you know, like I thought I was just one of the bros, essentially.
Got you.
But yeah, so he tells me that, and then I find out like 2 months later after I moved back to Atlanta that I have retinal detachment. And so, like, everything.
Your eye, by the way. That's,
right.
Okay.
Like, I don't know what would have happened or how awkward that would have been to like live with somebody who had feelings for me, or like what the expectations would have been, or like, you know. So that would have been already. I guess just don't live with somebody of the opposite gender. I'm not a scientist. That might have been my first bad idea. But again, 22 years old.
Hey, by the way, so when he told you, yo, I got feelings for you, what was your train of thought and what happened?
I kind of just like turned it back on him. I was like, listen, buddy. I was like, I think like 3 months ago you told me you like somebody else. I'm like, so I'm not entirely sure you're consistent here.
Okay.
But he was like, you know, like, I know that we're both going back to our own places. Like, we don't have to date unless you want to. And I was just like, this is going to be a lot to process later. I had to get up. He was telling me like the night before I was driving back to Atlanta, which is a 12-hour drive. I was planning to get up at 7. At this point, it's like 1 a.m. He left all of his friends to come and like have this conversation with me. And I'm like, this is like,
it's deep.
I was like, this is like a lot to process right now. But like, flattering. Thank you.
Yeah. Facts.
But
no printer.
Yeah, I kind of like, I was very gentle about it. I didn't make it weird. Like, my ultimate goal was just to keep being friends after that. And we kind of were, but I think like for guys, when they reveal something like that to you, and you can either confirm or deny. If somebody, like, if you tell somebody I have feelings for you and they don't reciprocate that, like, as a dude, I think your ego is probably a little bit
shut down a little bit.
Yeah.
Broke them.
It changes. Yeah, it changes the dynamic.
Yeah.
So like that's the point where I'd rather just somebody says nothing to me.
You built a demon that day. I'm telling you, that man is still thinking about you. That man still remembers you every time he goes to the gym. 5 a.m. in the morning, he's like, Samantha.
No, I think he's doing well, but like I think part of the issue is like in the fact that we were going to be living together. People made all sorts of assumptions. Like people were like, when are you guys going to date? Because we were constantly around each other. Because I was like, this guy's just my homie. But I think when guys, is this a thing? Like when guys hang out with girls regularly, like it's a straight man and a straight woman.
Yeah.
Does something build there for the guy, like on their end?
I think it depends on the guy too. Like depends on like his emotional state and you know how he goes about his emotions. Some people are more straightforward. They're like, hey, listen, we're hanging out a lot, so are we guarding our feelings or are we letting it go? Some people go with the flow and then whatever happens. And some people don't even think about it. Like I would be on the spectrum of like, if we're hanging out, like I go with the vibes and the energy. Like that's what I go with.
Yeah.
Usually men are not as emotional, but there are a lot of men that I know that are more emotional. They'll definitely get attached.
So you don't, you think that like a guy, because that was kind of always my assumption.
Yeah.
Right? Like a guy and a girl can hang out without there being like an underlying motive or without somebody having feelings. Like to me, that was very possible.
But that's a good, that's fair enough. But if it were to happen, most of the guys probably wouldn't have a problem either. Does that make sense? It's like
if it worked out.
Yeah, if it worked out, they're like, oh, well, good, cool, yes, nice. But I'm not saying there's a motive. But if it were to happen, all right, let's send it.
So let me dive a little deeper here.
All right, go ahead.
All right,
let me.
The interview is on you now, sir.
Oh, turn it on me. How the turns have tabled.
Yes. Now this is turned into how men think because I actually am genuinely curious.
All right, you want to pick my brain?
I do. Okay, so. For like guys and girls, like for me, I always assumed like, you know, homies, you got your homies.
Right.
You got like your homies that you're a little attracted to.
Okay.
And then you got, I think that's it.
Okay.
When it comes to guys and girls, like you're either into them or you're not.
All right, go ahead.
But so if you're hanging out with somebody.
Yeah.
Is the implication that like you could be kind of into them as a guy, like we're talking male brain.
Okay.
do you if you're hanging out with like a girl on a general basis?
On a general, okay, cool. Because I was gonna be like, well, it depends on the guy, but yeah, typically when you hang out with somebody or like you're vibing with them and you know that you feel like there's a connection, like you question yourself, why not? Especially obviously if you're single, right? If you're, you know, why not? Why not give it a shot? I'm always the type of person, personally me, why not give it a try? Lately though, the past couple of years, I've been really just concentrating on different things. But in the past, I felt like, yo, if there is an opportunity, like why not give it a shot and find out? I hate going about life with a lot of what ifs. You're always gonna do that, but a lot of what ifs are not the best thing to go about in life. I feel like personally for me, because you do live once, and then I'm not trying to like YOLO it, but like you do have to see what's out there and see what happens, because you never know. Like you never know. It's better to live, you know, with in your mind that you tried something instead of, you know, oh man, what if this? What if that? A lot of regrets.
Yeah.
So it depends. But for me, I think it's, yo, why not? Like if you know, and then you can tell like eventually like you'll send signs, you know. Sometimes men though, we need a lot more signs than you guys actually think. But that can be also depend on the guy.
That's true.
Yeah. So any more questions? That was very general, but I mean, it's like, you know.
No, but that's the thing is because like I told you, like when it comes to like, I just treat my guy friends like I would treat my girlfriends.
Right.
But what it seems like and what I picked up on from not just that experience, but just in general, when you're hanging out with somebody of the opposite sex and like that person becomes a really, really close friend of yours, like that roommate would have been, or like some of my other friends who I literally like went back to go see in Dallas. Like I flew to go visit male friends.
Right.
In my mind, like if you're friends with somebody, that's just your friend.
Gotcha.
My question like was kind of along the lines of maybe it's a person to person basis, but do men think that way? Is there always kind of like some sort of attraction to somebody that you're that close with as a female friend?
Oh, I mean, but naturally though, I feel like it's bound to happen. Like if I see where you're coming from now. Now, okay. So I mean, with you said if you're just a friend, you're just a friend, right? I think that's a healthy way to go about it, because you don't want to assume anything else either, because then feelings get involved and then, you know, you get let down or anything else can happen. But I literally think that's a person-to-person thing, like how they carry themselves, how were they hurt in the past? Do they only need friends at that moment in time of like, you know, like that season in life? Are they only looking for friends, you know? Or like, are there more people that like as soon as you start hanging out with them, they get emotional about you and they get attached? Like, no, those are the dangerous ones. Those are you want to. That's
like they don't care until you're with somebody else. Is that what you're saying?
Well, more of if like, you know, have you ever experienced somebody that you've hang out with them and they think?
Have you ever experienced someone? I've experienced someone.
Good. I think you got your experience up with your resume up, girl. So if you've dated have you dated somebody, or I mean, have you talked to somebody and become friends with somebody and you guys are just, you know, friends and stuff like that, but they get too attached to you more than you would like? Does that make sense? It sounds like this guy like you just had that was like you guys thought you guys was friends, but then again, it's kind of weird because you told me that he had feelings for somebody like 3
months before.
prior. Yeah. So that's kind of.
Well, that's kind of the thing, though, is like if somebody's interested in you, you want to know that it's not just like a throwing darts type thing. I think that's another aspect of it, right?
Gotcha. Yeah.
But that's just people in general, because if somebody expressed interest in you, but then they express interest in your friend like 2 months before, and then before that there was somebody else that they were kind of like making eyes at, it wouldn't feel like it was intentional.
So how do you like a guy to approach you? What do you they? Because you say you basically friends on every guy, you know, because you want them to be friends. Well, how do you like a guy to approach you? Like, what's the
when I'm interested?
Oh, so you have to be interested first, okay? So you have to. What is it that you look at? Height? Or is there a specific thing that you like?
Yeah.
Personality.
So height is a thing.
So you are single, by the way. So fellas, hey, what's up, bro?
Yeah, height's a thing. I'm almost 6 feet tall. I'm 5'11".
Okay.
So you know, like I just don't want to like kind of like bend down and give him a little kiss on the forehead. You know what I mean?
Lord Farquaad kind of vibes.
Right, Lord Farquaad. But that's one of the first things that I kind of consider is like, are you taller than me, and also like, build wise, are you larger than me as a person? Because
you want to feel protected.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So but that's just like surface level stuff. There's also stuff like everybody has their things that they're attracted to.
Gotcha.
I have like a painfully specific type.
Oh,
So
well, I don't know if you want to share that or you want to keep it to yourself.
Let's
keep it to yourself.
Keep it under wraps. But like one of my things is also like values. Like, do we share the same values?
That's important. That's 100% important.
It's so important.
Very important.
Yeah, because like down the line, if it works out, like you have to be on the same page about how you're gonna raise your kids.
Yeah.
Like I want somebody who's gonna pray with me.
Yeah.
If I was atheist, maybe I'd want somebody who was gonna tell me that it's all in my brain. I don't know.
I don't know. Maybe.
I don't know how they think.
Go ahead.
But yeah, I mean, so that's part of it is, and I think that's guys and girls. The initial attraction has to be there.
Yeah. It's important. I think even at church one time they talked about like, yo, physical attraction is important.
It matters.
It's not everything, but it matters. First of all, because it catches your attention, and second of all, like, is that person? When you see him every day, you want them to, at least for me personally, to keep that, like, you know, either through exercise or health or eating. It's important, especially through all the health issues that I've been through. I definitely want to have a lot of health in my life, at least when it comes to you know, keeping a healthy lifestyle. That's what I mean. Yeah.
And you don't, I mean, that's another thing is like down the line, you want to make sure that the person that you're with takes care of themselves because,
not just while they're single, but actually, you know, even after you get married.
Right. Age does enough damage to your looks. Like you don't also have to let yourself go, you know?
Yeah.
So, taking care of yourself is a big part of it, but yeah, I don't know. I think just that initial, also like, do you vibe? Like, do you have the same sense of humor?
Yeah.
Like, yeah, like, okay, so I have like a friend that I get along with in a very specific way. Like, I always play this game of Would You Rather, but it's like one really, really incredible option, one just like absolute like toast option, just horrible. Right. Like, would you rather be able to teleport or get shot in the back of the head and live? Like,
I mean, that's not even a question though. Like, if whoever takes the other one probably wants to, you know, GG's, go back to the lobby. You know?
But no, exactly. But it's like dumb things like that where it's like that's such a like niche kind of sense of humor. It's like when you find somebody who can vibe with you and stuff like that. It's like,
that's important. Energy.
Yeah.
What we're just talking about, energy. And you know what's funny, Samantha? We deviated from the conversation of careers.
We sure did.
And I'm trying to figure out how we're gonna go back to the original point. All right, so you dated the guy, and he opened up to you. You had the conversation. You let him down. Basically,
and then
what happened?
all of our entire dynamic after that was just about rent payments for the apartment we were living in.
That's unfortunate. Well, that's pain. That's real pain. So eventually, you moved to. So you stayed in Atlanta, and then what happened?
Yeah. So moved to Atlanta, and then I worked for AT&T for about, hopefully they don't sue me. I wouldn't put it past them. But anyways, worked for them for 3.5 years. Absolutely adored my new boss. At first I didn't like him because he like threatened to take back my offer letter because I was like, I'm staying in Dallas. And he was like, you like having a job? Because if you do, you're coming to Atlanta. So yeah, that was kind of a whole thing. I didn't like him at first. I ended up absolutely adoring him. And then he ended up kind of, when there was a management change, I think that he saw some of the what is it, blood in the water? What's this term?
Yeah, that's good. I think it's blood in the
water. He saw some blood in the water. He was like, I'm gonna go find something where I'm not directly under like the new management. And so he ended up skedaddling, and then I got a new boss. Dipped. Yeah, they hired the new boss. I don't care if he sees this.
Probably won't, but go ahead.
Or I won't name drop. I'm not going to dox him because I don't have his address. If I did, it'd be different.
All right, now you might see. Now you want to be careful.
So, anyways, yeah. So the new boss, I pray for him on a nightly basis. I hope he's grown as a person.
Good.
But he was a youngin'. He was like in his 20s.
Okay.
And he came from a retail store. I don't know why they hired him directly out of a retail store because he had like we were on the business sector
for management.
Yeah.
Okay.
So
gotcha.
like in my super qualified previous manager's position, they replaced him with this guy who was right out of a retail store. I guess he had like a good track record with it, but he was young, like zero management zero management experience whatsoever. He didn't really know what he was talking about and never really learned. He was there for 1.5 years until I quit, and I just got so fed up with it. He was rude to me. I had like the quitting story of all quitting stories. I was so fed up that day. That man caught me when I got up on the wrong side of the bed, and I literally he called
You snapped
me.
on him?
I was sick the day before. I took a sick day. I was gonna take another sick day, and then he scheduled like a meeting with me at 9 a.m. Not even knowing that I'd be back in that day. He said that we had a one-on-one. I don't know to this day what he was going to tell me. I pick up the call, like I'm literally nasally. I'm super sick. I feel horrible. Like I'm sweating. I was like, hello. And he was like, hi. So yeah, I just wanted to schedule this meeting. I've noticed a pattern of behavior. I was like, I already had. Listen, though, I don't know what he was going to say because I already had my next job lined up. Like, I was so fed up with him at that point. Him specifically. The rest of the job was fine. The management, him, and then his boss had just completely changed the culture of the company to the point that it was demeaning and toxic, and he never offered, like, an ounce of help. So he was like, I've noticed a pattern of behavior. And I was like, listen, buddy, let me stop you right there. I was like, this is my 2 weeks. I'm done. And before that, he started the call by saying, "Hey, did you see that your PTO got denied? Me and my buddy Trevor were to go to Florida, and so I was already paid up. I requested 3 weeks earlier. Apparently, you're supposed to request 4 weeks earlier, but that was just a power play on his end. He was like, "You see, your PTO got denied." I'm like, "No way! Who denied it? Who would that be?" He denied my PTO, and then tried to like, "Oh, did you see that got denied?"
Trying to finesse.
Right, I was like, buddy, oh, don't try me this morning. So I was like, and I'm pretty sure I said that. I was like, no way. Who did that? Like,
smart ass.
Yeah, and so anyways, he was like, yeah. So I noticed pattern of behavior. I'm like, okay. I was like, this is my 2 weeks. He was like, oh, okay. I was like, yep. And then he was like, all right, well, do you want to quit today? I'm like, no, I said 2 weeks, so it's 2 weeks.
Yeah.
And he was like,
so you gave him the 2 weeks at least.
Yeah. And he was like, oh, okay. Well, what are you going to do in the meantime? I'm like, well, I'm probably going to take that PTO you denied me, first of all.
Ooh. Did you take it?
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. Yeah. I took that PTO.
Okay.
But and then I posted like a meme in the group chat. It was like that SpongeBob meme. It was like, I'm gonna head out. Like I said bye to my team, out. And then I was like, I'm gonna head out. Like I was so freaking shady about the entire thing. But I'm like, I was like, this isn't somebody that I would ever ask for a letter of recommendation. Right. Like I didn't have any respect for him, so I was just like, boop boop.
Got you.
This is gonna be my one and only like really fire quitting story. This is fine. This is the day.
I'm out.
Yeah, I'm
like
out.
The Shark Tank. I'm out.
Right, and then I took up my new job. So I stayed in telecom. So I'm over, which by the way, if you don't know what telecom is, that is pretty much just like technical sales.
Okay. But so you're saleswoman?
I'm a saleswoman.
Oh.
Yeah, but my new position is I would say in a lot of ways it's a lot easier. I get assigned accounts. They give me like essentially a card stack of customers. They are only mine to touch, which is so nice because of my previous position. It was you call anybody and everybody, and then you don't care what you're selling, you just sell it. You know, it was I didn't think the integrity of it was all there, which it's different with this current one. So that's good. Got 3 all expense paid work vacations.
Nice.
To Connecticut and New York City. Got to go see the Lion. Absolute dubs. Got to go see the Lion King on Broadway. Had some really crazy.
That's awesome.
Yeah, it was, but I had some really crazy like work conference stories. Like people talk about it. People talk about the way these men are on these work conferences. I lived it. I was like, I thought this was made up. Yeah, man, that was crazy. But I did. They gave me $7 a day in food credits.
In food credits?
Yeah.
$7?
$7.
So you said 70.
7. Here's a crumb.
Wait, no, I didn't know. You said 70?
70, yeah.
I was like, 7? I was like, homie, you sure you can get even a Big Mac nowadays?
At that point, I'd just fast the entire time, just collect my $7 and cut my losses. I'd be like,
you know what question just popped in my mind? And by the way, thank you for sharing that. So now you're at telecom and you still do that. You're a saleswoman, and that's how you ended up with. Bet. So we finally got there.
Let's go.
We finally got there, boys. Well, so a funny question that just popped in my head. what's your go-to place or food that you feel like, at night that's like a vibe? Like, is it Waffle House, or do you hit, like, what would you prefer? Well, now that you're in a healthier lifestyle, I don't know if you're doing it anymore, but what was like your go-to, like, like for me at night when you come back from like going out with your friends or whatever, hitting McDonald's, getting Mac chickens or, Mac doubles,
McNugs.
bro. Oh, my goodness, yo, McNuggets, whew, child, fire, straight up gas. Or Waffle House, you can't go wrong with that. Like Waffle House is not very appetizing until it's like it's 2 a.m. in the morning, nothing's open. You're like, all right, you know what? It's not a bad idea. Like I would, go ham. What about you? Do you have anything? Or
It was Waffle House for me.
it was.
But that was mainly when I was like going out and drinking and going to bars.
Got you. So you slowed down with that.
Oh yeah.
So okay, good. This is a good transition.
Segue.
Good segue into the other conversation we're about to have. So earlier when you got here, you told me that you're slowing down on your drinking and even substance. What was that?
Just substances in general.
Got you. Okay,
Yeah.
so I didn't want to say anything wrong. So, first of all, why is that? Obviously, I feel it's a good thing, but like, how bad did it get, or why are the reasons that you're doing it, and how has that affected you in the past and even in your growth now, like, going into the future?
Mm-hmm. It's funny because like sometimes God will show us things or tell us things where it's like we might not personally see it as a big deal, but God kind of steers us in a different direction. So you knew me a few years ago, coming right out of college, like I was a big drinker.
Yeah.
Like that was my thing. Like,
yeah, I remember. I remember.
Like I drink by myself. I drink with homies. I didn't really care. Like I'd be like, there's always an excuse, like wine Wednesday, tequila Tuesday. I don't know. Like there's always something.
Just an excuse to drink.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, right, exactly. Like there were people that like would have been on the same page with it, but I just like I enjoy drinking. I thought it was kind of a fun time, and also at that point I was what, like 23, so. I'm 26 now, and it's not that I don't still enjoy like having a beer or two.
Yeah.
But it's just there's a point where it's like you got to kind of slow down, because I'm realizing at some point I've seen people who like they continue with that and they start to enjoy it a little bit too much, and then it is a problem.
An addiction, would you call it?
I don't think I was ever necessarily addicted, but
no, I'm talking about the people that continue to in that same path. Gotcha.
And I think you start to see it on people because people hit a certain age and they're still like, oh, like, do you want to come over for a drink? Do you want to?
Yeah.
And I guess in some ways, like, I would do that too. I'd be like, oh, it's The Bachelor. Like, I'm going to buy a bottle of wine and just drink as much of that as I want, Like, it just gets to a point where people start always making excuses to be drinking. And I just realized, I saw a family just down my street fall apart.
Wow.
Because of that. And that's hard. It's when you have an addiction that bad, you love drinking more than you love your family, because that's how addiction works.
That's deep.
Wow. There was that. There was also addiction to nicotine, which I was vaping from the time that I was like a junior in college until I think I quit for a little bit, and then I picked it back up to kind of curb my appetite when I was gaining weight, which it's a shortcut I don't think everybody should take. But I was doing that, and then my friends started doing like the little nicotine pouches.
Okay.
And so that got me off of vaping. I will say like that was much harder to quit than vaping. Yeah. Just cold turkey. My brain felt like it was melting.
Oh man.
But yeah, that was like, God was like, no more of those. And it's funny because every time I would pray, I felt like that was getting in the way of me feeling close to God. Yeah. It's hard to explain, but I was like, I always felt like God was like telling me, like, if you want to get close to me, like, you need to like take those out. Cause I just had it in constantly. And also like,
Plus, if you're not sober, like, like your sound mind, that's important to have. And if half the time you're not there, it's like, well, yeah. A lot of thoughts can, come in and play into that. Did you ever get like any professional help, or you did it by like time, the Lord, yourself thinking, or did you get professional help at all, like, counseling and stuff like that?
God is my counselor. He confirmed like through 3 different people that
Gotcha.
That was, and like it was something that I had that initial conviction of like, if you are like using these nicotine pouches and praying like you're not going to get as close to me. And that was kind of part of it. And then the other part of it is like, you know, I felt like convicted about old groups of friends because like I associated being around them with drinking because it's not that they like condone that behavior, but they definitely participated in it. They'd be all right with it. That was another thing that I kind of like pulled back
a little bit from.
Really, it was just the Lord. And the thing is, like, when this is actually kind of a recent thing where I was like, all right, this is just gonna be some sober time for me. I'm on Adderall, which I think is, I have another whole other segue that I could go on about Adderall because I think it's very strange to medicate your brain if you think about it. So I'm trying to wean off of that, but I got extra stupid when I was trying to like quit it. Like I almost caused a couple of car crashes, but it's like you're so hazy when you're coming off of it. So that's going to have to be a slower process.
Gotcha.
But yeah, just like as for everything else, yeah, it was nothing professional. It was just when I made that commitment, when my sister came to me and she was like, hey, I really feel like God wants you to back away from these things. And God had already been convicting me on that. And I had a separate friend say something, not knowing what God had said to me or the conversation I had already had with God. I was like, okay, I'm going to take some time. I'm going to take a couple weeks and I'm just going to be sober and I'm accountable to God in this.
Gotcha.
And if it wasn't me being accountable to God, I would like your brain literally feels like it's on fire when you're trying to quit nicotine. I don't know how to explain it. It's like the craving is so intense. So if I wasn't accountable to God, I would have gone out.
How often were you doing the nicotine? Like what were you, the pouches you still kept doing? How often were you doing that for?
Oh, like constant, like I was going through probably a pack and I don't know, maybe there's like 15 of the little pouches inside of there. They last about an hour. I was going through one of those every 2 days. So it was constantly, and sometimes I'd stay up later at night and just watch TV so that I could have them in because like it's nice. It's like I don't know how to describe it. It's like a release or like kind of a head rush or like you needed it to feel normal.
Because that was your new normal.
Right, yeah. Like I needed it to feel normal. So I constantly had it in and I would stay up later just to keep them in. Sometimes I would go to sleep with them in.
Yeah. I got you. I guess I have my opinion on things like that. But even like, you know how they say like, I don't know if I'm assuming you smoke before like weed and stuff, right?
Oh, I've heard tales.
Yeah. So in the past, I've heard of people that like, you know, smoke, you know, marijuana and they do it very often and they tell me like, oh yeah, it's not an addiction. Like it's not bad. It's not like unhealthy for you. Cause you know, studies and all that stuff. I was like, I understand that. But if you always have to be high, you know, to function, then that's your new normal. And I don't think that's healthy. Does that make sense? Like that part of you not being sound-minded or you not being able to control or manage it, then that becomes an addiction and that's bad. Like, you know, anything, what is it? What's the saying? Too much of anything is bad for you. You know what I mean? And I think that applies to it too as well. So I think that's great that you came out of like, you know, or at least, and you're still coming out of some stuff unhealthy, but keep going.
No, it's definitely a process. And I think that's kind of the thing that God's been teaching me because I can, especially when it comes to my faith, like I can be really hard on myself. So when I had to kind of take the Adderall to feel normal again, because again, like I was off of it. I drove to church on an empty tank of gas. I think that my car might have been empty for 2 days that entire time I was quitting. And I was so out of it that I do that all the time. Like I'm so like cautious about my gas gauge. Like I wasn't even looking at it. I got to church last Sunday and I was like, oh my gosh, my tank is empty. So like I had to like turn around, go to the nearest gas station. Didn't know if I was going to make it, filled up, go back. And I'm sitting there, like my friend's in my car. I'm telling him about how he had driven to church on an empty tank this morning and like he's in my passenger seat. His car is parked in front of mine and I like move the what do you call it?
You talking about the e-brake? The e-brake?
No.
Wait, what are you talking about? Move the what?
Ignition? What?
The ignition? How can you move it?
I don't do cars. I don't know.
So what part of the car are you talking about?
You take the thing. You know, you like when you got a manual car.
Oh, you move the little stick so you can put it on. Yeah, the little stick. Gotcha.
But I don't drive manual. Anyways, I moved the little stick thing into like.
Wait, you don't drive manual?
No.
You drive stick?
Oh wait, is it manual? No. Automatic. There's automatic and there's manual. I drive automatic.
Oh man, I'm confused. Shit, damn.
See, now
I
we're
need to
learning something about cars. I
My
went to
bad,
a STEM
I'm
school.
shocked. Go ahead,
It's
keep
a
going.
liberal
Yeah,
arts degree
so
worth
the
of
little
business school.
stick that gives, yeah.
So anyways, I pulled that and he was like, stop. And I'm like, what? And he was like, you are in drive right now. And I,
Oh
like
no.
his car's right in front of mine. And I'm like, So I just got done telling him about how I had driven for 2 days on an empty tank of gas because like the Adderall wasn't kicking. And he was like, you're about to hit my car, like my brand new car. So it's what I'm saying is like it's a process. With that, I have to be gentle with myself and knowing like my brain became so dependent on Adderall, which again, I don't think when I have kids I'm gonna medicate them for anything like that's supposed to medicate behavior or brain.
Yeah.
Because there's such a dependency that comes off of that.
Oh yeah.
And
at least you're smart enough to understand that. Like, you know, you get that. Yeah.
Yeah, which I didn't because and up until like a month ago, I was very much like, I definitely need Adderall because I think it had more to do with the fact that I didn't feel normal without it than the fact that I really needed it. But I have, you know, such a dependency on it. But God's been patient with me. I was trying to fast that. I made it without the nicotine. I did have a couple of drinks throughout the process. And then I also, you know, like the Adderall within the past couple of days, I've had to do a little bit just because I'm like, I can't get anything done without this because I'm so dependent on it at this point. But it's a process. And so understanding that God is patient with me helps. It doesn't mean I'm going to go back to it, but it does mean that like I know that he's got some grace.
Yeah. No, and you're going, I feel like, in the right direction. Compared to what it sounds like you used to be, feels you're going in the right direction.
Sounds like you knew me.
Well, you know, there's a lot of things that, you know, you do in private or, you know, I didn't know about the nicotine stuff like that. That was crazy. Well, I actually appreciate the fact that you share all of that. And, you know, whatever people's opinion is of when they hear this and they hear you, like, I want to give you your props and respect for actually being able to share that. Like, that's a lot of vulnerability, and it takes a lot in a person to be able to share that because you don't know who you might be helping out there from just listening to you. And the fact that there is a way to get better and you can get better and you were out at a younger age. So Samantha, I respect you for that. And I appreciate you sharing that. That means a lot. That's really, it's big. So thank you for that. That was, that's actually very beautiful. That's actually very beautiful. Do you have anything else you would like to share with us today in this beautiful, what's today's Friday? Little Friday. I almost forgot. I'm lost in the sauce.
One last story. This is the time that I did crack cocaine. Just kidding. Imagine.
No, my face. I was like this. Oh, we're getting there. I was like, we're going deep. Oh my God. My camera definitely caught that. I was like, oh man. You know what? We will definitely. I would love to have you again in another podcast so we can talk about just stories, you know, just talk about fun stories that we've had or, you know, like young stories when, you know, we're just vibing out, you know what I mean? It would be cool because I'm planning on even having, you know, people back again, of course, and just, you know, what is it? Just talk it out, you know what I mean?
I'm going to have I don't know how to explain this. I just know in my gut, in 1 year, I'm going to have really wild stories. Just give me 1 year, 365 days. I can be back before that, but I'm telling you, 365.
All right, next Thanksgiving.
You can write that down. I'll tattoo that on my finger. I'll have really wild stories.
Wild stories in your finger?
Yeah. I just know that I will. I don't know. It's a gut thing. And when it does, and when it happens,
believe your gut.
I'm going to be like, hey, you people who didn't believe in God, what'd I tell you?
If you guys are still around next year in the podcast, if we're still around, just
unless we get raptured.
Remember, yeah, I mean, child. At this point, you know, yeah, I'm saying. Hey, Samantha, thank you so much, Sammy. I appreciate you coming and taking your time, man. I'm actually kind of hungry.
We're getting Korean barbecue.
Gang. Hopefully it doesn't upset my stomach more than it needs to.
We'll pray ahead of time.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you, Jesus. Amen. Hey, guys. Thank you. I hope you guys enjoyed, first of all, the stories and Samantha's energy, man. Thank you for your energy. I appreciate you just coming in and being yourself. That really means a lot to me. I love energy. You know what I mean? I love that. For everybody out there listening, don't forget to subscribe to the channel where, you know, I post videos. This goes live on YouTube in 4K. So, you know, you get the best quality. I also have a TikTok, and I post a lot of shorts on my YouTube. And that's all going to be in the description. Don't forget to like and comment, share, subscribe, turn on the notifications on YouTube. And then on top of that, if you do me the favor, go like the channel and the podcast on Amazon Music, Spotify, and Apple Podcasts, because we're on all of them. So we're in there like swimwear. I appreciate you guys watching and listening. That means a lot. Thank you for the love and support, and have a blessed rest of your day. Thank you. Bye. Nice.